Welcome to episode 4 of the Growth Cure podcast. Today I've got Wells Westmoreland, who is the founder of Aperture, an SEO agency that helps cannabis and hemp e-commerce brands. He's helped brands such as Natural Ways CBD more than 5x their organic revenue via SEO. Wells, welcome to the podcast and thanks for taking the time out for this interview.
Absolutely, Amit. Thank you for having me.
No problem. We've been talking for a while, Wells. I think first I'd be interested to know cannabis, hemp, e-commerce. It's a challenging space, an interesting, very niche area of the industry. Going back to maybe the early days of when you were starting this, how did you get into this part of the industry specifically, and how did you get into the SEO industry as well?
Definitely, yeah. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I wanted to start a business, more like 5 years ago. So I decided I'm going to learn digital marketing, and then I'm going to go try to pitch businesses in my area. I started out doing social media management. They were the first business that actually wanted to work with me because at that point I had no case studies, no credibility, and that kind of thing. So I developed a good working relationship with the owner of that store. And I was doing social media management for them for maybe 6 months, more like a year. It wasn't really having any material impact on their business that either of us could notice. I wasn't noticing anything increasing. They weren't noticing anything. I was still learning and I was younger at the time. And so therefore the owner was patient with me. But I realized I want to have a business and help clients. This is just not a good service to do because it's hard to prove the impact you're having. And so that's whenever I began learning about SEO. I've been following some different bloggers. I've been following their content on other topics, but they also talked about SEO because they were doing it for their sites. And so I kind of learned to love it. I started my own blog, and then a couple months later, I decided to pitch this client. I decided to pitch them SEO. So that's what I've been doing for about the last 4 years or so. The first year or so was definitely kind of rough. I wasn't that good at it, but as time went on, I got better at it. And I learned about the unique challenges that CBD and hemp brands face. I've used CBD and hemp products in my own life. And so that's kind of how I found the client actually. And so by learning about how beneficial SEO can be for cannabis and hemp e-commerce brands, and then also just by having experience working in it, I decided to kind of double down because I saw it's an underserved vertical, a lot of agencies, but not that many good ones that specialize in this space. So I decided to go ahead and focus there.
It's interesting you started originally, as you said, in the social media side, and then from there went into SEO, whereas a lot of people might just go, they're in SEO, they're dealing with all sorts of brands, and then so you actually came the other way. Obviously, with this being a sector, cannabis, hemp, CBD, all this area, it's a tricky industry to do SEO in, especially as well. It's also challenging for other reasons, specifically looking at like the SEO side of it in the time that you've been doing this. What were some of like your those initial kind of wins that you had or the experiences where you felt this is a challenging industry, but it kind of proved that you kind of have cracked the code in a sense. It proves that it can work organically and it needs budget, but it can be done with a reasonable budget.
Starting out, my approach was not the best, but it did teach me some things because at the time, all the main CBD keywords, and many of them still are dominated by very large media sites. So you have sites like Forbes and Healthline writing about best CBD products and that kind of thing. And so with Natural Way CBD, they had a local following, but they didn't really have a lot of website authority at the time. And so at the time, what I was doing was a lot of just writing blog posts. Now, I've obviously changed my strategy since then because that's not the best way to drive revenue. But writing blog posts and building up traffic for long tail keywords and having to get creative and finding less competitive terms to go after that still had buying intent behind them, that kind of taught me that there are plenty of ways that you can still rank and drive revenue without ranking for the main keyword. So if you can't rank for best CBD oil or even just the keyword CBD oil, you can find longer tail variants and you can support those more specific product category pages for terms like maybe CBD, CBG oil, for example. You can support that with blog content. What that kind of taught me in the beginning was that like you could find backdoors around the major keywords that are just very hard to compete on. And the blog post only approach does not work anymore. It didn't really work that well then. But by building up a lot of traffic and seeing some revenue from those early efforts, I realized there's a path to doing this. And so I've since kind of refined my approach and to make it so such that I'm ranking for more valuable keywords. That initial experience taught me that it's possible.
This will be the same not just in this industry as well. People perhaps made the mistake of producing content and going for traffic volume rather than thinking, okay, how do we tie this to revenue? You touched on what you felt worked in terms of SEO. Specifically for content, what would you say was really important for you and clients that you worked with, like in terms of the overall approach to content? I guess link building or SEO or other things come into that as well. Just interested to know how the role of content or the role content doesn't play.
So everything we do depends on content, but it's about the type of content, right? And so blog posts, they still have a place in SEO for sure, but they're not the main thing that we do anymore. The main thing we're focused on is building more product category pages because it's a very flexible type of page layout that can satisfy search intent for many different keywords. So Google tends to prefer, especially nowadays, they tend to prefer the product category page layout for many product related keywords. They prefer it over a blog post because there is buying intent. So people don't just want to read about it, they also want to buy a product. But they also prefer it over a product page because people tend to look at many different options all at once. So the product category page is probably the most powerful tool content wise. And that's obviously a blend of you have products, and then below that, usually you have some content on the page that is serves to inform readers and show Google that your page is comprehensive, that kind of thing. So for most of our clients, it boils down to product category pages, just getting smart about optimizing the ones they already have, but also building additional ones to target longer tail variants of the main keyword they're trying to target that still have an kind of independent search intent, the broad version, the long tail version, and they're showing different results. Oftentimes, it's a good idea to build two category pages to satisfy both those intents the best as you can. So it's a lot of that. It's just getting smart and building a lot of category pages that target long tail variants, and also just kind of keywords that are different but mean the same thing. So you're able to rank for all of them because your products, those keywords are tied to your products, but Google may think that they're different things because the syntax is different. And then blog content helps to support all those category pages. It helps to build the site's topical authority. So you write a lot about a certain topic, it's easier to rank for that topic with those category pages. Also, link building just helps to build site authority in general and to those pages. So for Natural Ways, it's been a mix of category pages and blog content. Not so much link building over there. We have done some link building organically through the content, but no outreach for them. But for other clients, it is a mix of outreach, link building, lots of category pages, and then also blog content.
I think with your approach to product categories, it was similar. I was talking to somebody from a cannabis e-commerce company in Canada, and they took a similar approach where they would actually target, I think they were building product category pages actually based on brands that were up and coming in the cannabis scene, and they did quite well. Like those were not brands they owned, but they knew that they were up and coming and people would search for it. So it seems like a kind of similar approach, different types of categories of products and different brands. Off the back of that, what is the biggest mistake that you've seen brands do in this industry, or just maybe even the common things that people just don't really quite get right?
I definitely see a lot of things. It's hard to pick just one, but I will say most good SEO, it boils down to two things: quality and consistency, right? So you want to be putting out high quality pages, building high quality links, and doing that on a consistent basis. Most brands that I see who have tried doing their own SEO or who have worked with an agency but didn't do a very good job, what happened was one of those elements was lacking. Either they did some good things, but then they kind of stopped doing it, or they didn't really do that much of it, or they did consistently publish content or whatever, but it wasn't very high quality. I come across brands with dozens and dozens of blog posts where none of them were ranking or getting any clicks from Google. I've also come across brands where they thought that they could succeed with SEO by doing a one-time sweep of all their pages once a year. And anyone who does SEO, you cannot do that. You can't, SEO is not set and forget. So I would say either neglecting quality or consistency in SEO efforts. One of those two things is usually the downfall of most brands' SEO strategy.
You touched on something interesting about content as well. That kind of leads me to the Google helpful content update. We've been bombarded with updates. It's hit a lot of people in the affiliate space, your money, your life kind of industries or sites especially hard. And there's different theories in terms of how they're evaluating content or what is good content. How do you think Google's really evaluating the content? Then I guess the follow-up to that might be where is the role of link building now?
With content, a couple main changes. You can't get by writing low quality content anymore. I'm not sure if it's necessarily due to like a single update, but a lot of brands that have written like 100+ blog posts that used to be getting a lot of traffic,
Mm.
the traffic basically crashes to nearly zero from those blog posts. You can't really tie it on the timeline to a specific Google update, but as the algorithm gets better, the bar for quality is constantly going up. That just shows you, unless you're constantly updating and improving your content, you probably shouldn't write it in the first place, just because you're going to see a spike and you're going to see a drop. So that's not really, again, related to a specific update, but it's related to the general progression of the algorithm. Two other things that I see though with content. The second thing is Google has gotten better about determining which topics are actually related to your site and which aren't. And so therefore, you have to be careful about which topics you write about because you may not be able to even compete on them. As an example, for one client, we wrote several blog posts about CBD for different medical conditions. Now, obviously, we do avoid medical claims. We were trying to get information about people who have used it, research, that kind of thing. And they did well for a while, but we've noticed that since then, they've gotten pushed down to low page one or even page two on Google because Google prefers to rank medical sites for those terms. So even though it is a CBD related term, because it's also medical related, Google prioritizes the medical authority sites just because that is a your money, your life type of term. And so we've noticed that like for content to work, you have to be very, very close to your product line and your area of expertise as a business in the hemp or cannabis space. The third change with, and this is pretty new, is with AI overviews taking up, or with AI overviews being now shown
Yeah.
on many more informational focused search terms, very high level informational content is no longer a viable strategy just because even if you were to rank in the top three positions, your click through rate would be pretty abysmal just because you have that AI overview pushing your results down the page. And so to counter that, for clients where we wrote content in the past, like topical content that has since lost clicks, we're not really focused too much on updating it. As long as it's like doing okay, so
Yeah.
Google doesn't see it as like a bad quality page. Instead, we're focused, if we're going to create any new blog content, it's going to be around middle or bottom of funnel keywords like best CBD gummies, that kind of thing, right? Things where Google would prefer to show articles versus the AI overview because no one can really shop from an AI overview. They can't get like an in-depth comparison from an AI overview. And so just kind of trying to write content that still has unique value despite Google introducing a bunch of different search features that kind of pull information from your pages, but don't give you the click. Those are kind of three high-level changes to content. Quality bar is increasing, so you have to update constantly. You have to stay very focused on your products and your site. Don't stray too far from your topical expertise, especially around medical topics. And the third thing is just focus on middle and bottom of funnel content. Focus on content that Google cannot commoditize with the AI overview. So those are kind of
Yeah.
three content changes. Link building played the same role, I would say, consistently for the past 10 years or so in SEO. The difference there is that like some types of links are no longer worth pursuing. You want to build links to your homepage and build links to your category pages. Now, building links to product pages is not so effective. Building links to blog posts too is effective. And the goal there is to build your general site authority and then also to build authority to specific pages like category pages that you want to rank for those lucrative product related keywords. As you've seen, a lot of blogs and affiliate sites have been killed off since the helpful content
Yeah.
update. We used to have so many good link targets, so many good sites where they were writing content, they were actively looking to collaborate. You could pay them a little fee and you could get a pretty good quality link from a very relevant site. And that luxury is now gone. And so we've had to, it's gotten harder to find good sites to build links from, especially in this space. We're focused on non-competing brands, still some content sites in the space that are still performing well, but mainly we're focused on non-competing businesses that do have some topical overlap where they'd be willing to write about it.
It's an interesting point about the changes with SEO. As you said, it actually affects the link building because the sites that are not worth taking links from anymore probably didn't have their SEO quite figured out. So it's interesting because then the sites you do want to get links from, they're probably other e-commerce brands, they're non-competing sites. It's probably a niche site that really understands the SEO. They've done a good job with the content. It's almost like it all came full circle to just build good quality links. Although that's a
Yeah.
bit of a muddy term.
There were a lot of good quality affiliate sites and that kind of thing that did get killed. But there were a lot of bad quality ones. A hidden benefit though of this too, affiliate sites that used to be ranking for best CBD type keywords, like those affiliate listicle article type keywords, they're now gone. So we can compete for more of those. So we've been able to rank clients with using blog posts and category pages for a lot of these best keywords just because there's fewer sites competing for them. So there is a silver lining, but it's definitely made you have to focus on quality over quantity approach all day with link building.
Makes sense. And again, I'm a bit biased being a link building person myself, but I can agree with you. It's definitely more challenging. We're hearing theories about, we won't need links anymore or link building won't be needed. Reality is
You
you're
got
going
to
to need
have it.
something. Yeah. Although we don't really know what's going to happen with Google's algorithm, that's the reality of it. But looking at what might be happening, what do you think cannabis and other e-commerce brands and cannabis and hemp, what kind of SEO levers should they be pulling to stay competitive? You've talked about the approach to quality content, the role that link building plays. Taking from all that, what do you think are the first few key steps they need to really have at the core of their SEO strategy to make sure they're doing it the right way?
I would say if your brand has never done SEO or done it in the past, but you're just not seeing the results anymore, first thing I would do is get rid of any bad pages on your site. A bad page is a page that it's thin, it's not related to your product or your business, it's old, hasn't been updated in a long time. Either update these pages, usually there'll be blog posts, maybe some irrelevant category pages, that kind of thing. And so the first thing is update them or delete them. That way, all that's left over is relevant pages that are high quality. We commonly see traffic spikes if we're cutting out bad content from our client sites. Second thing is for e-commerce brands is build product category pages. So again, when it comes to product related terms, Google prefers to rank category pages many times over the single product page layout. It makes sense, right? Because people want to see many options. It's a better quality experience. They can 5, 10, 20 products versus just one product at a time. And so building pages that categorize your products in different ways and kind of package them differently to searchers is the best way. The number one SEO activity I recommend for brands that are trying to build new pages and get new traffic. So that's the first thing. And so with that, you want to build a category page and optimize it for all your main product categories. Let's say you sell CBD products. You want to build a category page for CBD gummies, CBD oil, CBD capsules, CBD topicals. However, you probably won't rank for many of those keywords in the beginning just because they're the more competitive terms. So what you want to do then is you want to build two types of other category pages. You want to build category pages that target long tail variants, so more specific versions of those products. For example, a lot of people will want CBD topicals that also contain THC. So if you sell more than two CBD THC topicals, I would build a page for that keyword because very few brands will actually be able to compete with you on that. You also build pages where the keyword, when someone types in that keyword, they're looking for your product, they're using different language. So an example here is brands that sell Delta 9 THC gummies. So people search for those products by writing Delta 9 gummies, or they might type in THC gummies. And so Google oftentimes still thinks that the two are different things. If you look up those keywords, the results will be fairly different. For keywords like that, I recommend building a page for both variants because your products are what people are looking for in both instances, but you got to have two different pages because Google thinks are different things. Next thing is blog content. So blog content to build topical authority, as I mentioned before, you want to write blog posts around each of your category pages. So if you have, let's say you have a group of category pages around THC gummies. So you have the main one, maybe you have like 5 or 6 different variants of that. You want to write maybe 10, 20 blog posts, different informational topics around THC gummies. To find these topics, you can obviously do keyword research using a tool. You can also just go to Google and look at the questions that are popping up. A general rule here is you want to build more topical authority. So you want to write more about the topic than your competitors are. So if your competitor has two blog posts by the topic, you can probably just write five or six and you'll be able to outrank them. If they have 10 though, you want to do 15 or 20, right? Do more than your competitors. That's how you outrank them. Because ultimately what that does, it establishes your site as an authority on the topic. From those blog posts, you link back to the category pages you created. You're passing that authority onto those category pages. So the interlinking too is a critical step there. The fourth is to build links. So we do a 50, 25, 25 mix. So we build 50% of links to the homepage, and then 25% to category pages, and then 25% to the blog posts. The homepage links, that helps to build general site authority. So you're going to have sites linking to your brand name. And then for the blog posts, it's a variety of anchor text. And then with the category pages, you want to use a mix of exact match anchors to link from THC gummies to your THC gummies page, and then also to, kind of broader match anchors. And for link building, I recommend kind of link to the main category pages. From there, those main ones also link to the subcategories. You can't build links to every single subcategory. You're probably gonna have like 50 or 60. So build to the main ones. We do kind of four main things: getting rid of bad stuff, category pages, blog content, link building. It's a simple approach, but it's not an easy approach. You have to do it consistently and do a good job at it. In SEO in 2025, the best way to succeed is to do a small number of things, but do each of them really well.
Yeah, makes sense. I think it kind of summarizes the role of link building specifically, where I think in the past maybe people could get away with almost brute forcing their SEO to the top with just loads of content, loads of links, when really I feel like a lot of brands can't get away with that anymore. Things like link building, it can come in, but it's not going to help you as much if you don't have these other things ironed out. The other thing I was going to talk about was, and it's here to stay now, is AI. So with AI generated content and AI overviews coming in and everything that comes with that, how can brands in this space kind of future-proof their SEO strategy against that? No, I know you did touch on things that you should be doing with your content, looking at bottom of funnel.
The main threat it poses for SEO, it can kind of eat up those top of funnel queries. However, with Google's AI overviews, they're already oftentimes pulling that content out of the pages and giving it to the searcher at the very top. And so it's just not a very good opportunity anymore between people being able to compete with you with AI content and also Google's search features. Writing top of funnel blog content is just not effective anymore. So instead, I recommend focusing on things that the AI cannot replicate. And that's where category pages come in a lot. Anybody can write AI content about CBD, but unless they're actually selling products, they can't compete with you on those terms. And so it really does make sense. You want to focus mainly on the terms where people are looking to buy products that drives revenue, but also no one can compete with you with AI for those terms, just because unless you sell products, you can't rank for those keywords. So it's again come full circle. The answer is to do what makes sense instead of trying to hack traffic by writing a ton of blog content. Because let's get real, even before AI, blog content it doesn't really convert a lot, at least for e-commerce brands. There's a few types of blog content that do, but most informational blog content does not convert. Instead, the product category pages are the ones that convert. People looking for products, they want to buy products. You give them products, and then boom, right? They buy from you. Especially for hedging against AI, focusing on building product category pages and on those product related keywords is the best way to get around that.
That's a good reminder. I talked to somebody a while back and we've heard stories like this before of they kept publishing content, it kept ranking, they were getting traffic, but it wasn't converting. And now I think what might happen is someone could just be producing loads of content and now it might not even bring in traffic if it's not commercial enough. Going into advice for people in this space or in related sectors, let's say there's a founder trying to grow an authority site in a very restricted or competitive space, and let's imagine it's cannabis or hemp or something competitive in the health and wellness industry. What would you say they should focus on first?
I think winning SEO, it's funny, winning SEO starts before you ever start SEO. So I don't recommend you do SEO unless you already have a brand built. It's kind of a prerequisite for doing SEO
Yeah.
today, just because Google prefers to rank sites that are real businesses that have customer bases that are proven entities because they have to keep people coming back to the results. And so they have an incentive to serve high quality results and reputable results. Building a brand is the most important thing before you start SEO. In terms of what that looks like, you can do local events, social media can work for that, getting your products in retail stores, PR and authority, media publications. So that's kind of the brand side. Then also in terms of the marketing side, I recommend all brands have email marketing in place before they start SEO. So you want to have email flows built for all the main actions, like a welcome series flow when people sign up to your website. If they start shopping and then abandon their cart, you would have an abandoned cart flow that kind of tries to get them back. After they purchase from you, you want to have a flow that gets them to leave a review and make a second purchase. And so you want to have email marketing in place because once you get traffic, people will be signing up to your email list. And also after they buy a product from organic search, you want to be able to keep them in your ecosystem and get repeat orders and that kind of thing. And so email marketing is a must-have. Like again, until you have brand building efforts in place and email marketing in place, both flows and also sending out campaigns, I would not invest a cent in SEO. I would not do it at all, just because it's not effective unless you already have these things in place. You might get a little bit of revenue from it, but A, the ROI will be lower than it could be, and B, it'll take a lot longer than if you already have a brand in place. So I think brand building and then also email marketing are the two biggest things I would stress for brands that want to do SEO. It just doesn't work as well without those two things.
Especially with brand building, it's one of those. There's a few things you can do in terms of events. I talked to somebody else in the cannabis sector, and they were doing local SEO because they had a specific region that they catered to. They were running a music event and they were active in things like Reddit communities, but sharing like very specific content or sharing video content about new products that were coming up. So things that are not really, they're maybe not scalable, but it's part of building a brand. There's things that you should be doing. I talked to somebody in, again, fitness industry where he saw these other things almost like an engine that supported the SEO. Of course, aside from the SEO, it's important, but sometimes if you do an event, you might even get links from it as well. So
One more thing I mentioned here as well is like video content is really big. So I recommend do video content. Obviously, it is hard in the cannabis and hemp space, but Instagram Reels, Facebook video content, YouTube is also really good. YouTube, obviously, to do it well, it requires a bit more investment, but there are a lot of hemp and cannabis brands crushing on YouTube. And so again, they also help SEO. So I recommend video content as well.
I think with video content, it might be hard for other people to replicate your video content. One of the last questions I was going to ask, because I know there's people in this space, they'll be aware of brands in cannabis or hemp or related sectors that are investing a lot in paid strategies or influencers. Do you think there's still space to build a brand that's organic first? And just interested to know your thoughts in general in terms of using paid advertising, where you think organic sits.
I think in terms of just organic marketing in general, definitely you can. Now, SEO first, I don't really know, just because again, I recommend you build the brand first before you start SEO. And to build that brand, you're going to have to do some offline work. But in terms of just using organic marketing techniques, so social media and outreach and SEO, it is definitely still possible. Lots of the best brands in the space got their start without using any kind of paid ads or influencers. Now, obviously, once they get big, they usually invest in paid. There's many different types of paid. So you could do paid social, but also you have affiliate marketing, product placements, articles on big websites. There's definitely still a lot of space to build a brand because ultimately it's just about, is your brand memorable and distinctive? And then do you put in the effort spreading that brand around? And so the actual vehicle you use to get to get the word out, right? To reach people, it doesn't really matter. What matters more is the brand good? Does it speak to people? There definitely is still space to build organic first in cannabis and hemp. If your brand's bad, you can all you want on paid influencers. But if the brand's not good, it's not going to stick. You're not going to get long-term customers. So nail the brand first, and then the right channels will reveal themselves to you. And SEO could be a part of that, or it could not be.
Good advice, and I think for anyone who's watching, whether they're in cannabis or hemp or sectors within health and wellness, same things apply. Make sure to focus on the brand, know your audience. I think that's a theme that's come up a lot in these interviews as well. Because when you know your audience, let's say you're in the business of making the products, you then know what the audience wants. And sometimes that even helps with your content. And then you're producing the right type of content as well. Wells, that was everything I had today. Really appreciate your time for the interview. Thanks for that advice. I think for anyone watching, there was a lot there, so make sure to watch it back, especially if you're in the cannabis hemp space. Really valuable advice there. These are the type of things that you should be looking at if you're going to be doing SEO or brand building, if that's the first thing you need to focus on. But thanks for your time, Wells. Hope you enjoyed the interview.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode.